Thank you. Are we mic'd up and ready to go?
I believe so.
Thank you. Thank you for that lovely warm introduction, James. You probably read a little bit about our profiles in the stuff that came out before. But one thing it didn't mention in any of that is the fact that I'm gay and Dibs is trans. Now, amongst this audience, that's not going to mean a thing. You're probably, meh, who cares? No issue, no big deal. But if I was a 16-year-old or a 17-year-old, in many cases, there's no way in the world I could actually declare that, because I might find myself in a hostile environment, a family totally opposed to who I might be identifying as, or a faith or a community totally opposed to what I am. And the net result of that is that a lot of these young people facing that sort of hostility just get crushed by the discrimination and the prejudice shown on them. And so that was the genesis of the Pinnacle Foundation. We saw this problem and we thought there's got to be a pathway, there's got to be a way of removing these blockages for these young people who are full of potential, full of marvellous ideas and creativity and contribution to the rest of society. And so we created the Pinnacle Foundation to do one simple thing, to give them the pathway to an aspirational life, get them an education, get them on the pathway to a career and really the optimisation of their full capacity and their potential as human beings. And we do that in two very simple ways. The first way is we provide a scholarship. We provide cash, money to each student to get them over that hump of not having to work and concentrating on their studies. And the second thing is we provide a mentor, someone who is an expert in their field of study, someone that can hold their hand through the crises and the roadblocks that they all will face through life and get them on their path to achieving their pinnacle in their lives. And you might say, really, in this day and age, is that something that is problematic? Dibs, you've got some sort of stories or examples of just what some of these young people face.
Yeah, I actually messaged a few of my friends and asked them what some of the worst things they've heard about their sexuality or gender identity that's been said to them by loved ones. And some of these quotes are just ridiculous, so brace yourselves. One of my friends' dads said, "How great is the fact that 50 gays were killed in Orlando and gay blood is too dirty for donation?" And this is, knowing their child is gay. One of my friend's parents said, "I would rather kill myself than have you be a transgender." It's not even good English. It's not funny, it's serious. And then the last one, "Thank God your dad's dead. I wouldn't want him to see this. He would be so ashamed of you." So
that is happening in thousands of homes all over Australia at this moment in time. I remember as a 16 or 17-year-old hearing a friend of our family saying all poofters should be rounded up and shot. Thank God I was surrounded by a loving family and I'm here today because of that. But there are thousands of young people that don't have the blessings that Dibs and I have had. And right behind us, you'll see some of the outcomes of what happens to these young people. Over 80% of the students that apply for a Pinnacle Foundation scholarship suffer some kind of mental health issue as a direct result of the discrimination against them. Most of it's clinically diagnosed, but many of them actually can't find the help to fix the problems that they've got. So it's sort of self-reported. Look at the statistics around suicide attempts, and I hope you can all see it, but as a percentage of the general population, 3.2% will attempt to commit suicide. Now, that's an appalling statistic in the general population. But if you're a transgender person, 35% of that population will attempt to commit suicide. And for the young people that we're trying to help, the young LGBTI community demographic, 16% of them will attempt to commit suicide, which is a devastating thing. And and before it even gets to this stage, homelessness is rife. As another example, young kids get kicked out of home by their parents who disown them, or they run away from what they're facing in their home or their school or their faith. And you've got to ask yourself, what on earth are these young people facing that ending their own life is an easier option than facing some of the challenges that they're facing? It's a horrible question. But that's exactly when the Pinnacle Foundation steps in. Dibs is one of our star scholars and alumni. A great story, and I'd love you to hear it firsthand.
So before I found the Pinnacle Foundation, I was studying my last year of high school, doing my HSC. I was juggling 3 or 4 jobs at a time and trying to balance my studies. I was a pretty serious student. I was severely depressed and stressed out because of my sexuality and the bullying that I endured in high school. I had everything from food thrown at me at lunchtime to gum spat out in my face by other students, as well as verbal bullying. And I spent a lot of time in the counsellor's office. I was in a pretty emotionally abusive relationship because I was just really afraid that no one else would love me because I had no other queer role models to look after, or let alone, queer friends to speak to about their experiences. But after finding the Pinnacle Foundation and becoming a scholar, my life changed just dramatically and really fast. I think over the 3 years that I was a scholar, I received almost $10,000 from them as a scholarship to help me through university. And I also received a mentor, Fabian, who I still keep in contact with today, and we're really great friends. She just gave me so much confidence and helped guide me through life, not only my studies, but my life decisions and things like that. And I was able, with the funding, to drop down to just one job and focus on my studies. And yeah, now life is awesome. I'm you could kind of say reached a pinnacle in my life. There's many more mountains to climb, so I've not reached the tallest one yet. But I'm pretty much the most confident I've ever been speaking. Look, I'm speaking to all of you. I'm 21 years old, and I'm like, hey, look at me. So yeah, life's been pretty sweet. I've got a girlfriend that loves me very much and treats me way nicer than the other one from high school. So bad choices. And I have a really sweet job now that I love. And I have really good workmates, and then so when I went to come out as transgender, I faced the same issues as I did when I was coming out as a lesbian, but this time, I had the backing of my Pinnacle family, as I like to call them, all of the other scholars that I've become really, really great friends with from all over the country, not just the ones in Sydney, and my mentor, of course, and obviously people like Sean and the other board members and committee members of the Pinnacle Foundation, who are all just amazing volunteers. And I don't know, to volunteer for so many years in a row is just crazy. These people all have full-time jobs and they volunteer their time. And thank you, Sean. I'm so grateful to help.
Next slide. Great story, and behind us now you'll see a small montage of just a sample of the 75 scholars that we've supported in the last 6 years, and they're all smiling, fulfilled, happiest bunch of people that you'll ever see in your entire life. And we cover 16 to 24-year-old as the range of students that we try and support. So the task tonight really is to help this next generation of young LGBTI youth. We've got an opportunity here tonight to literally help fund up to 10 of our 10 Pinnacle scholars. Just $10,000 will provide a scholarship for between 5 and 6 scholarships, And if we're lucky enough, and if you're generous enough to give us $20,000, we will be able to provide up to 12 scholarships next year. And as that little sort of slide up there says, we think we know potential when we see it, and all of you here tonight hopefully will help us realise that goal. And you might have seen on the first slide, it said...
I was here too.
Oh, there it is too, yeah, exactly. You'll just see on that logo there that we light the spark within, and I'd like to think that all of us here tonight can help light that spark, make it brighter so that everybody can see, and have a whole generation of Dibs following in your footsteps. It's fantastic.
Hopefully the Pinnacle scholars will be in your seats next year.